Hey everyone, this is Bradley Benner with Lead Gadget and the ATM. This is February 18th, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and today we're going to go over a follow-up from last week where we started talking about training virtual assistants for pretty much any part of any tasks within your job or your business. Last week we talked about using Trello. We talked about how to create what's called working procedures to actually document the tasks within your business, or any type of task can be outsourced if you document the task, the procedure for it properly, and then put it into a format that can be followed by a virtual assistant or somebody that you're training. And so we walked through that last week. If anybody isn't aware of that training, just go watch the webinar from, it would have been February 11th, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So we're not going to rehash that. Although I do want to mention there's a great book that I learned this process from, which is by Sam Carpenter, and it's called Work the System. So again, you can go to Amazon and pick that up, or you can buy the audio book or the Kindle book or whatever for $10. Is totally worth it. In fact, that $10 book had more impact on my business than a $20,000 event that I went to. And I was reading that book on the flight to that event, and on the flight back, I finished the book, and that $10 book had more of an impact on my business than the event that I went to. So it's quite a transformative book when you start to realize like how to build systems into your business. So we talked about that last week. I mentioned last week that I was going to share with you guys the process outline for building ATM sites, or building sites with the ATM. I'm in the process of training 2 VAs right now to build for me so that I don't have to do it anymore. And so I went ahead and created the first version of the working procedures for my VAs that I'm training right now. So they're a bit basic in that there's some of the advanced techniques that I've omitted some of the advanced techniques that I would typically build into the sites myself, because I want them to get in the habit, or to learn the procedure and get familiar with building within the ATM before I start to teach them some of the advanced stuff that I do. So the initial version of the working procedures are a bit simplified, but it's working well, because they're on today's Thursday, so this is their 4th day in training, because they started on Monday, and we've already gotten several sites completed all the way through the site cleanup process. So they're doing fairly well. I'm going to share with you guys the Google Doc, which is how I whenever I create working procedures, I typically will create a training video walking through and explaining what I'm doing first. And guys, this is what how I suggest you do it. I mean, you can create them any way you want, but the process that I use to create working procedures. So it's a process, right? I have a process for creating processes. And essentially what I'll do is I'll create a training video, record a training video screencast while I'm performing an operation or a task. Okay. And I'll explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it as I'm recording the training video. Then after that, after the video is done, then I'll kind of go through the video or watch the video while I'm documenting the tasks or the procedure into a Google Doc format and bullet form. I always use bullet forms to start with. That way I can also, when I'm going through the video, I'll be able to pause it and type out the instructions. So I literally type everything out. And then from that, once I have the Google Doc with the procedure in that format and bullet format, then I'll go over to Trello and transfer them on the Trello boards. Or I'll have a VA do that for me, which is oftentimes what I'll do now. I've got a VA that actually just does Trello board setup for me, so that I don't have to do that anymore myself, because it's just data entry. So I'm not going to share with you guys the Trello boards because it's too much of a pain in the ass. Trello does not make it easy to share boards, so I'm not going to be able to share those with you. However, I can share the Google Doc with you, and you guys are free to make a copy of it and then edit as needed to have your own specific procedures. And that's what I'm going to share with you now. So let me grab the screen. By the way, if you guys have any questions, post them, because it doesn't look like there's a lot of attendees again. I didn't see any questions as of yet. This will be a short session today if there are no questions, because I've got a lot of work to do, and I've got to get another project together for the VAs that I'm training. So, all right, let me jump over here. It looks like there's no questions on the page yet. That's fine by me. Here is the overview, guys, the ATM process outline. This will be a copy that I'm going to make for you, or I'm sorry, you guys can just view this. You can't make any edits to this. And if you want to use this for your own business and edit it, modify it for your own purposes, that's fine. But you'll have to go to File, Make a Copy inside of Google Drive. Okay, or download as a Microsoft Word doc, whatever. In order for you to be able to edit this document, you either have to make a copy or you have to download it as a Microsoft, or download as whatever file you want to, and then make the edits there. Okay, let me grab the share URL. And I've stripped out, as far as I know, I've stripped out any sensitive data from here and made it generic enough that it should be cool for you guys to use. I just want to make sure. It's 9 pages, but this is 9 pages up. I mean, this is how I do all my working procedures. I type them out like this. So it's, you know, it's very detailed. Again, I try to make it dummy proof to where you could take somebody that doesn't have any WordPress building experience at all, but could walk through this process along with the training videos, which I'm not going to share the training videos because there's project specific data in there. So don't even ask. Okay. I'm giving you guys the content from the working procedure. You can create your own training videos for your own VAs. Okay. But anyways, I walk through it and I literally, you know, say, go click this button here. And I use the button title, and you'll see when you look at this. Let me post this on the page. ATM process outline. In parentheses, working procedures. All right, so that's posted on the events page. You guys can go through that. I'm sure that everybody has their own methods that they use, their own process for building sites. And again, this is just an example. This is how I have my VA. This is how I build my sites, and how I'm training my VAs to build my sites. You guys can edit as needed to include your own process. You could use this just as kind of a guide or an example. All right. So if I get hopefully I'm not going to get a ton of questions as to why I did this or why I did that. This is just the way I build. Again, if you have your own process, just create your own working procedure, and you can use this as kind of just a template. Okay. All right. I don't really have any other training for today as of yet. So I don't know if you guys have any questions. Go ahead and post them. Lee, you're welcome, Lee. It took me 3 days. It took me 3 days of about, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours per day to create the training videos, set up a training site, and then type out these process notes, because I went back and refined them again. It's very painful creating working procedures. There's no question. It's very tedious. I don't enjoy doing it, but once it's done, it takes such a load off because it's done. So like, for example, I know down here at the bottom, I'm testing a new method for the site maps. At the very, very bottom where it says, this is during the site cleanup process, I was having the VAs actually copy all the site maps into an Excel file, but now I'm going to have them just copy them into a text file because I'm changing the indexing procedure that I'm using. So that'll be changed. So these are always what I call living documents. In other words, they're editable, and that's why I keep everything in Google Docs, because it's editable in real time, and you know, everybody else can see the edits that are shared on the doc. Now, I won't be updating this shared doc with you guys because this is just a template or an example for you. The version that I have for my actual VAs that has like project sensitive data in it, stuff like that, those will be edited in real time so that any changes that are made to the procedure, they will see. Then it just has to be transferred over to the Trello boards. And to be honest with you, like I mentioned last week, the Trello boards are really only for the first couple weeks of a new VA or you know, of a new hire. New VAs, once they've been hired, like they only have to use the Trello boards for the first couple of weeks, or if they're learning a new task. Doesn't matter how long they've been with me. If they're learning a new task, we use the Trello boards, because that, again, with that to do, doing, done, and technical help lists inside of Trello, it makes it easy for me to identify where there might be issues within the process, and also notifies me of any trouble that they're having with the procedure itself. So, and it also helps me to see how efficient they are in performing or completing those tasks. But once they've gone through the Trello board for that, whatever task it may be, for 2 or 3 times, sometimes 4 times, I don't ask them to use the Trello boards anymore. Like, I don't require them to do that anymore, because then it just slows them down. It's great up front to help them get trained and to become efficient with the process. But then after they've learned the process, it can actually hamper or slow their efficiency. So really, Trello is just kind of a tool to use to help them learn the tasks up front, and to help me identify areas that can be improved upon. And then after they've learned it, then I just have them refer to the Google Doc, because the Google Doc, again, is edited in real time. Trello's a pain in the ass to edit the cards and everything. It really is, because it's great as a tool, like I said in the beginning, for any task, but then it becomes kind of a too cumbersome. So the Google Docs are much easier and quicker to edit, if that makes sense. So I always keep the Google Docs as like the living document, the one that we change and edit whenever procedures change, because oftentimes tasks will change. And something I encourage my VAs to do is, I look at it from one perspective when I create the procedure, but then I ask my VAs to make suggestions if they see something within the procedure that can be made to be more efficient, right? If they can combine tasks or eliminate steps altogether, or combine steps, whatever they can do to suggest to make this, procedure more efficient, I ask them to tell me about, obviously make suggestions. And then I'll review their suggestion. And if it makes sense to me, and if it seems logical, then I'll say, yeah, absolutely. And I'll change the document, if that makes sense. So, because I want their job to be as easy as possible and to be as efficient as possible. And so I oftentimes will ask them, I encourage them to make suggestions if they see anything that can be improved upon. And because they're the ones in the mud every day, like actually working on the task every day, they oftentimes will identify things that can be done better or more efficiently that I would have overlooked, because I don't do those tasks every day, if that makes sense. So anyways, so there you guys go. You have that to go through. Again, don't ask me to explain particular parts of the procedure. This is just, I know you all probably have your own building procedure. That's fine. Just use this as a template and edit as needed. Okay. All right. I don't see any questions, guys. Like I said, I want to make this short. If you guys have any questions, I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes to post them on the page, the events page. If you don't, that's fine. I'll wrap it up, because I've got lots of work to do anyways. So I'm training 2 people right now, which is interesting, because I'm having a hard time keeping ahead of them with work. Another, like, I always do that though. It puts me under a lot of pressure to keep them busy. So I've got another VA who's a team leader for one of the teams that I'm building, and she's gathering project details. So what I'm doing is creating a Google Drive folder for a particular project, and I'll have 10 to 15 domains for a particular niche. Okay. And I'm having my team leader create the keyword workbook, which is a Google spreadsheet. And at the top of each column, I can give you guys an example. Let me, let's walk through that real quick, because that'll give me something to talk about with you guys for a minute and give you a chance to post any questions. Just let me pause the screen for a moment. And I'll pull up notes here and show you what I'm talking about. You guys might find this useful, maybe not, but we're going to walk through it anyways. All right, so let me grab the screen again. Hopefully you guys can see this. All right, so what I'll do is I'll create, let's just call this, we're going to call this the keyword phrase project workbook or something like that, right? So this would be whatever the keyword phrase is, whatever the project is. So keyword phrase is replaceable here. That's not what I would actually call this. It would be, I don't know, plumbing project workbook or something like that, local plumbers project workbook or something like that, right? So the keyword sheet, I would name the sheet down here and rename it, say keywords. And up here is where I put the seed term. So essentially what I'll do is whenever I'm going to go into a particular niche, and I'm doing a lot of affiliate stuff right now. I'm not doing much with local outside of my existing business. I'm saying what I'm building and what I'm training for really is affiliate stuff right now, because I'm building an affiliate division. And that's kind of what we're really pushing on right now. So when I look at a new niche, I'll take a look at the keywords. I'll do my keyword research. I'll find the main keyword, which is the broadest keyword, will be here. So I'm going to say broad keyword here. And let me spell that correctly. Okay, and then I'll run Power Suggest, guys. That's all I use. I know there's there's a version that or something that you can click on inside the ATM that takes you over to a keyword suggest tool. That's fine. Use whatever keyword tool you like. I happen to use Power Suggest. I absolutely love this tool. So I'll put my broad keyword in there and I'll click search with recursive set, and it'll spit out, 1,500, 1,800 keywords, depending on the niche. It could be less, but a lot of times it'll be 1,500 keywords if it's a broad keyword. And I just paste those into this column. Then I'll go through and I'll identify some sub niches, some more longer tail keywords from the broad keyword results. And then I'll add the, sub niche one. Whoops. Sub niche one, and then I'll do sub niche two, and so these will actually be the keywords that I've pulled from the list, from the first result, the keyword results. I'll find several, 8, 10, 12, up to 15. I usually don't do more than 15, but I'll find 10 supporting keywords, or at least 9 supporting keywords that are sub niches, longer tail niches, and or longer tail keywords based on the broad keyword, and then I'll put each one of those that I've located or identified in here as the top. And then I'll do a separate Power Suggest drill down. So I drill down on that specific keyword phrase. And then I put the results in these columns as well. Typically, there will be a lot less results than there will be from the broad keyword. Okay. And then from there, I go purchase the domains, which I've got another VA who I send a list of domains to that are pulled from backlink, Blue Chip Backlinks, which is the domain crawler I'm using to buy expired domains. I have them go through the list and pull domains out that have the topical trust flow within the same topic or category of the sites that I'm going to be building. And I have them I have a VA that, my link building VA, he does that for me. He'll go I'll just send him the list of domains. He'll go through, he'll identify the ones with topical trust flow that matches the sites that I'm building on. Then he'll take a look at the backlink profiles, go to Majestic SEO and actually view and analyze each one of the domains to make sure that they're not spammed. They don't have Chinese backlinks or Russian backlinks to them, that kind of thing. Make sure they're not spammed. The anchor text ratio is decent. And then he'll send me back and say, okay, here's the domains that are worthy of purchasing. Then I'll hop over to Namecheap. I'll buy those domains, and then I add them to a project details or the project workbook into a details tab, where it will assign a domain to each subniche keyword. So, for example, if I add another, let me just rename this, and we'll call this one details. So this would be domain, and then this is going to be what I call site title. Okay, and then here is where I put workbook URLs, something like that, because we do everything in Drive. So this would be domain 1, right? And then .com, and then right here, the site title, this would be the broad keyword. And then domain 2, .com, this would be the subniche 1. Oops, subniche 1, and then obviously subniche 2, you guys get the idea. This would be domain 3 right here. And then if there's for each one of those, if they have their own workbook, the workbook URL goes here. It's a Google Drive workbook URL so that we can keep everything. And we keep all this into a project folder for that specific project. But that way, then all the keywords are listed here, right? That then I have the VAs actually go through and clean the keywords, delete any of the keywords that aren't necessary. And that's in the process outline. You'll see that aren't related or aren't really relevant to the seed term, or have like location details in there or whatever, because we're going to be adding location details with our custom list short codes. So they clean the list. And then they'll, when they go to build out the sites, they already have the domain assigned for each site. They already have the site title, which is just the name, the keyword that we're using, the main keyword that we're targeting. And then they build the sites out based on these process outline here. So that's what we're doing. And it's interesting because right now it's hard to keep ahead of these guys that I'm training because, you know, they're building, 5 to 8 sites per day, each one of them for each of them. So, you know, we're building 10 to 16 sites per day. And so I've got, it's kind of hard keeping ahead of them, keeping them, all the keywords and all the niche, on all the domains and everything so that they can keep building. So it's kind of interesting right now seeing that. Once they get really efficient with building too, you know, they'll be able to build 20 sites a day easy. And so I'm not sure, I'm probably going to have to hire a full-time project manager just to stay ahead of them, you know, gathering or generating project details, researching niches, gathering the keywords, identifying content and all that other thing. That's the other thing that I didn't put here. If we have one here, this is going to be the site content or the article. What I'm doing is I'm having my team leader go, actually, once they've identified which sites we're going to build based on the keyword here, then she goes to Easing Articles and just scrapes an article and then spins it for me and then puts it into a text file. And we paste the Google Drive Notepad file URL right here. So that, again, the builders, all they have to do is come to their project workbook and all of the details are laid out for them. And they just put all this, you know, build the sites. But all the content and keywords and everything are all done for them by the team leader at first. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful, guys. Looks like there's no questions, so I'm going to wrap it up. If you guys have any questions about this process, remember next week, we will be here next week. So you're more than welcome to ask me the questions then. I'll post the events page within the next day or two, and you can post your questions ahead of time. So enjoy. Hopefully you guys will get some use out of that. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.